AITA for kicking out my stepmom after she demanded I pay rent in the house I owned? I never imagined I'd be standing in my own living room, staring down my father and his wife, telling them to get the hell out of my house, not just because of the money they stole, or the chaos they brought, but because for the first time in my life, I realized I didn't owe them a single damn thing. But to understand how I got there, you have to know what came before. Because this wasn't just about rent, or whose name was on the deed, this was a lifetime in the making. I was 12 when my mom died. Cancer. Fast, cruel, and merciless. One day she was baking cookies and laughing at my dumb jokes, and then she was gone. I remember her bed being wheeled out. I remember the hospice nurse whispering, "She didn't suffer much." But I also remember the silence afterward. The suffocating quiet of a house that used to feel alive and suddenly felt like a tomb. My dad broke after that. Not outwardly. He didn't cry much. He just shut down. He went to work, came home, sat in his chair, and stared at the TV. We ate in silence. We existed in parallel. And then, like someone flipping a switch, there was Karen. I came home one day and there she was, standing in the kitchen in my mom's apron, flipping pancakes like she owned the place. She had this tight smile, the kind you give when you're forcing yourself to be likable. "Hi, sweetheart," she chirped. "I'm Karen." I just blinked. My dad patted me on the shoulder and said, "Karen's going to be around more often." What he meant was, she was moving in. Along with her son, Jake. Jake was my age, but the total opposite. Loud, sloppy, whiny. He'd break things and laugh. He'd steal my clothes and claim they were his. And Karen? She never believed a word I said. "Jake wouldn't do that," she'd snap. "Don't be jealous." Jealous. Of a kid who once pissed in a soda bottle and left it under my bed as a prank. Sure. I spent the next 5 years being treated like a guest in my own home. Karen redecorated everything. Pictures of my mom came down. My bedroom was turned into a shared space with Jake. When I complained, she'd say, "You have no idea how hard this is on Jake. Show some empathy." I stopped asking my dad for help. He never took my side. Ever. At 15, I started working part-time at a repair shop. I saved every dollar. I was done being under their roof. At 18, I got a scholarship, packed my bags, and left. I didn't look back. Through college, I worked 2 jobs. Slept 4 hours a night. I didn't party. I didn't date much. I focused. Graduated early. Started coding freelance gigs. And by 24, I did something that no one in my family ever expected. I bought a house. A real one. 3 bedrooms. 2 bathrooms. Quiet neighborhood. It wasn't huge, but it was mine. Paid for in full. Every nail, every screw, every floor tile was earned. And for 2 glorious years I lived in peace. I could leave dishes in the sink. I could sleep in on Sundays. I could breathe. Then the phone rang. "Hey, kiddo," my dad said. His voice was hollow, worn. "Can I ask you something?" I hadn't talked to him in over a year. He explained they were being evicted. Karen had lost her job, he was laid off, and they'd run through their savings. Jake was back home, again. Between ventures. They had nowhere else to go. I stared at the ceiling, fists clenched. Every memory of being dismissed, insulted, and ignored came flooding back. "I just need a couple of months," my dad added. "Just until we're back on our feet." I should have said no. But something in me, guilt, misplaced loyalty, whatever, said yes. "Fine," I said. "But only for 3 months. This is my house. You don't pay rent, but you help with bills and groceries. You don't change anything. And you respect the space." He agreed. Karen said nothing. But I could already feel her smug smile through the phone. They moved in that weekend. The second she walked through the door, Karen exhaled like she was walking into a spa. "Oh, it's cozy," she said, looking around. "But you really should open the windows more. It's stuffy." Jake barged in behind her, dragging a suitcase and a gaming chair. "No, hello. No, thanks." "Where's the biggest room?" he asked. I stared at him. "You're in the guest room. It's 10 by 10. You'll deal." Karen made a face. "That's a little small for a growing boy. He's 25. I snapped. She just gave me that same tight smile and said, "Still growing in spirit." The first week was tolerable. Karen cooked a few dinners, said thank you once or twice, and tried to be civil. But by week 2, she was nesting. I came home from work to find the living room rearranged. My bookshelf was reorganized by color. My movie collection? Gone. Replaced with Hallmark DVDs. I stood there in disbelief. "Karen!" I called. She popped her head out of the kitchen, smiling. Just freshening up the space. You had so many violent movies. It felt heavy. This is not your house. Oh, don't be so possessive, she said, brushing past me. A home is about energy. The next day, I found Jake's laundry dumped on the floor in front of the washer, mine, and he had the nerve to say, "Yeah, can you wash those? I've got a rate at 8. I looked at him like he'd grown 2 heads. Wash your own damn clothes. He shrugged. Karen usually does it. Well, Karen isn't your maid, and I'm not your dad. He raised an eyebrow. Technically, you kind of are now. I didn't even respond. I just walked out. That night, I took a bottle of whiskey up to my room, locked the door, and sat on the floor wondering what the hell I'd done. But the straw that broke everything? It happened about 5 weeks in. I have a locked drawer in my home office. Inside is emergency cash, about $1,000, along with some important documents, IDs, passwords, etc. I check it every month like clockwork. And that night, something told me to look. $500. Gone. The drawer was relocked, but scratched. I stared at it for a full minute before I even processed what I was seeing. I stormed downstairs. Karen and my dad were watching TV. Jake was on the couch with his feet on my coffee table. Who took money from my drawer? I demanded. They all turned. Karen blinked. Excuse me? I keep emergency cash in a locked drawer. It's missing. Who took it? She laughed. Actually laughed. You're accusing us of stealing? I didn't blink. Yes. She rolled her eyes. We borrowed it. Jake needed supplements and groceries were tight. You what? I shouted. You broke into a locked drawer and stole from me? My dad looked uncomfortable. It's just money, Tyler. We were going to put it back. No, I said. It's not just money. It's the fact that you thought you had the right. That you didn't even ask. Karen crossed her arms. Well, maybe if you weren't hoarding money while living here rent-free. I actually laughed. I live here rent-free? This is my house. She stood up. Just because your name is on a piece of paper doesn't make you a man. You're still a child throwing tantrums. And you're a parasite who thinks family means free ride. My dad raised his voice, barely. That's enough. No, it's not, I said, shaking with rage. You moved in, disrespected every boundary, took over my space, and now you're stealing from me? I've had it. Karen snapped. We've sacrificed for you your whole life. You think you got here on your own? Yes, I roared. Yes, I did. You didn't give me a cent. You ignored me. You favored Jake. You let her treat me like garbage. And now you want credit? No. Get out. She stepped forward. You're really kicking us out? After everything? I'm giving you 30 days, I said. But if you touch one more thing in this house, I'll have the police escort you out. She scoffed. Your mother would be ashamed of you. I looked her dead in the eyes. Don't. You. Ever. Say her name. There was a beat of silence. My dad looked away. Jake muttered. Psycho. I walked upstairs, locked my door, and called a locksmith the next morning to install security cameras. Over the next 2 weeks, the house became a battlefield. Karen slammed every cabinet. Jake blasted music at 3 a.m. My dad stopped talking to me altogether. On day 18 they left. No goodbyes. Just a slammed door. The next morning, Karen posted a Facebook status. Sometimes the people you raise turn into monsters. Pray for us as we find a new path after being thrown out like trash. My aunt called. Screamed at me. Told me I'd betrayed blood. My cousin texted. Your dad deserved better. But none of them were there. None of them saw what I lived through. The door slammed behind them, but the echoes stayed in my house for days. Silence came back, sure, but it wasn't the peaceful kind I remembered. It was the kind that sits on your chest like a weight. I tried to ignore it. Tried to work. Tried to clean. But my hands would tremble every time I passed by that drawer they broke into. The more I thought about it, the more it burned. They didn't just disrespect me. They tried to gaslight me into thinking I was the problem. Tried to twist everything I built into something I should feel guilty for. And then they went online and painted me as a villain. That's when I saw the Facebook post. Karen had gone full-on martyr. After raising a boy who lost his mother, we opened our hearts and home to him once again. And now, in our time of need, we've been cast out. Please keep us in your prayers during this difficult time. Oh, it got hundreds of likes. Teary face emojis. Comments from church ladies I'd never met saying things like, You did everything you could, Karen. Some people just lose their way. I almost threw my phone. But I didn't post. Not yet. Instead, I waited. I watched. For the next few days, I gathered everything. Screenshots of texts. Receipts from the items they replaced. Photos of the redecorated rooms. A copy of the eviction notice. The withdrawal alert from my bank when they used my emergency cash card I'd foolishly stored in that drawer. Even Jake's tweet joking about milking free housing from a tech bro. Then I wrote a post. I didn't make it emotional. I didn't rant. I laid it out like evidence. Just the facts. I wrote, "Since my family has decided to publicly shame me, I'll offer my side, with proof. My father and his wife moved into my house rent-free after begging me for help. Within a week, they started redecorating without asking. They threw out my belongings, hosted guests I didn't approve, and disrespected every boundary I set. Then they broke into my locked drawer and took $500, claiming I owed them rent in the house I bought myself. When I told them to leave, I gave them 30 days. They left in 18, but now they're online trying to ruin my name. So here's what I'll say once, if standing up for myself makes me the bad guy, so be it. But I won't be silent just to protect people who only ever took from me." I attached everything. Photos. Screenshots. Even a short video from my home security cam showing Jake screaming at me and Karen calling me a selfish little worm who hides behind money. It didn't take long. Within 24 hours, the post had tripled the reach of Karen's. My friends shared it. My coworkers. Even some people from back in high school who never talked to me before were commenting. "Good for you, man. You don't owe anyone your peace." A few extended relatives messaged me privately. "Hey, I didn't know the whole story. I'm sorry I assumed the worst. You did what anyone with self-respect would do." But the best message? It came from Karen's sister. She DM'd me one line. "She's furious. Screaming all day. Honestly? Good." Then the calls started. Karen tried me first. Blocked. Jake posted some half-baked Instagram story about fake people who pretend to be generous. But it backfired. His own followers called him out. One girl wrote, "Didn't you live off him for months and then steal from him? Sit down, bro." And my dad? He showed up. Not with Karen. Just him. I saw him on the security cam, standing awkwardly on the porch in a hoodie. He looked older. Smaller. Like a man whose pride had finally collapsed under the weight of all the things he refused to confront. I opened the door, but only halfway. "I saw what you posted," he said, voice barely above a whisper. I nodded. "And?" He sighed. "I didn't know it was that bad. I didn't want to believe she'd take money from you like that." "She didn't," I said flatly. "You both did. I didn't take it. But you let it happen." He swallowed. "I just wanted peace. After your mom. I didn't know how to handle everything. And instead of learning, you replaced her with a tyrant who turned our house into a war zone. And you let her erase Mom. You let her erase me." He looked down. "I know." I let the silence hang. Finally, he said, "I'm sorry." Not dramatic. Not emotional. But real. The first real apology I'd ever heard from him. I nodded once. "I'm not mad anymore. But I don't trust you. And I don't owe you anything." He looked like he wanted to argue. But instead, he just nodded and turned to leave. As he walked away, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean. Lighter. Like I'd finally buried something that should have been laid to rest years ago. Karen hasn't posted about me since. Jake? He's still trying to launch his fifth brand. And me? I wake up every morning in a house that is exactly how I like it. Silent, steady, mine. So yeah. Reddit, I did get my revenge. Not with anger. Not with violence. Just the truth, and a lifetime of receipts. And I have zero regrets. So I'll ask one last time. AITA for kicking out my stepmom after she demanded I pay rent in the house I own, and then burning her lies to the ground with the truth?